The year was 1994. Baseball fever in Canada was in full bloom. The Toronto Blue Jays were fresh off winning their second consecutive World Series championship, capped off by Joe Carter's iconic walk-off home run. But 1994 saw Canada's other baseball team rise to the forefront of national attention, only to have it stolen away by labor unrest. The Montreal Expos were quietly becoming an excellent baseball team as the Jays were climbing to the top of the mountain. 1992 and 1993 saw the Expos finish second in the National League East Division both times, with the latter year seeing them win 94 games and finish only 3 games back of eventual World Series runner-up Philadelphia. Montreal had put together a young, scrappy team of hard-working and talented youngsters mixed with some savvy veterans and a manager in Felipe Alou that knew how to get the most out of his players. The offseason heading into 1994 saw the Expos stay the course. Instead of making big free agent signings, the Expos tinkered and brought in some less expensive role players like Juan Bell. But there was one move that bucked that trend. Second baseman Mike Lansing was knocking at the door for a starting job in 1993. His ability to make contact and his superb defense pushed incumbent starter Delino DeShields to be better. DeShields was still young and a very capable hitter at the plate, but Marquise Grissom was and was going to be the leadoff hitter for this team. So on November 19th, 1993, the Expos pulled the trigger and traded DeShields to the Los Angeles Dodgers for a 22-year-old starting pitcher by the name of Pedro Martinez. Pedro had reached the big leagues in 1993, posting a 10-5 record with a .261 ERA primarily out of the bullpen. Alou immediately slotted him in as the number 2 starter behind workhorse Ken Hill, and that was that. Things started ho-hum for the Expos. A 13-10 April, followed by a 15-12 May, saw them sitting 5 games back. Then, on June 1st, something just clicked. After a hard-fought 10-9 win over the Reds, which saw Pedro Martinez come out of the bullpen in the 9th to clean up a save situation, Alou told his team this win meant something to them, that it showed their heart and determination. The Expos rattled off 5 more wins after that and went 19-8 in June to jump into first in the NL East. An 18-8 August followed by a 9-2 start to September saw Montreal firmly in control of their division and well on their way to a playoff appearance, sitting 6 games up with 6 weeks to go. But 1994 was a year of labor unrest in Major League Baseball. In June, owners withheld a payment into the players' pension funds, leading to a court action. In July, players had set a hard date of August 11th to have their issues dealt with, or they would walk off the job. August 11th came, and that's exactly what happened. The strike ran for several weeks, with Commissioner Bud Selig announcing that September 9th was a deadline to get the players back on the field to save the playoffs. That day came and went with no labor agreement. The season and the playoffs were canceled, wiping out any chance the Expos had of becoming 1994 World Series champions. The team was never the same. Larry Walker left as a free agent once real baseball resumed in April of 1995. The Expos traded away veterans Ken Hill, John Wetland, and Marquise Grissom, all in cost-cutting moves. The fans didn't come back to Olympic Stadium, seeing the Expos' attendance plunge into the bottom 5 of MLB teams. Even in 1996, the last season where the Expos would finish with a winning record, the fans didn't buy into the playoff run like they had in the pre-strike era. The strike of 1994 not only robbed the Expos of playoff baseball and a possible World Series, it eventually was the start of the downward spiral of robbing the city of their baseball team. So today, let's take a look back at what if the 1994 strike had never happened. So as you can see, folks, we are in our fictional 1994 universe, October 4th, 1994 to be exact. The regular season has completed. The Montreal Expos only able to pick up a wild card spot, and that's for 2 reasons. First off, they sputtered to a 22-26 finish over the last 46 games, and the other reason, the Atlanta Braves went 40-8 over the last 6 weeks of the season to pick up the NL East division by 12 games, overcoming a 6-game deficit when the actual real-life season ended. The Cincinnati Reds pick up the NL Central, having to play a game 163 against Houston. Los Angeles Dodgers pick up the NL West title. And as you can see down below, this was the first year Major League Baseball was going to introduce a wild card. Montreal picks that up with a 5.5 game edge over Houston. In the American League, Baltimore picks up the AL East. Cleveland picks up the AL Central. Oakland picks up the AL West. Chicago White Sox pick up the AL wild card. So heading now to the playoff coverage, Chicago and Cleveland, Baltimore, Oakland in the American League. Our Montreal Expos going to be in tough against divisional rival Atlanta, who, again, as we said, on an absolute tear right now. As you see the matchups, Ken Hill against Greg Maddux, Kirk Reeder against John Smoltz, Tom Glavine against Jeff Facero, Steve Avery against Butch Henry is going to be our game 4. Noticeable by his absence in the playoff rotations is youngster Pedro Martinez. He is going to be in the bullpen. He did make 13 starts in the regular season, but not great. 5.26 ERA, 3-6 with 1 save in almost 100 innings. He did have 87 strikeouts, only 34 walks, but just giving up too many hits. So in the mid-season, he was relegated to the bullpen. And as you can see, absolute heartbreak for our 1994 Expos as they drop their series to Atlanta in 6 games. They got shut out 4-0 by Greg Maddux in game 1. They lost game 2, 7-2. They came back and won game 3, 2-1. Rondell White with a home run in that one. They also won game 4, so they won the first 2 games in Montreal 15-3. They picked up game 4 victory. Kirk Reeder pitched pretty solid. Alou, Barry, and Grissom with home runs. Then they dropped game 5 at home to the Braves by a score of 4-3, and then they got shut out by John Smoltz. Ryan Klesko with a couple of home runs as the Braves eliminated the Expos 5-0. Deion Sanders goes 10 for 26 in the series for a .385 batting average and picks up the series MVP. So unfortunately for our 1994 Expos, things do not work out as they make the playoffs. They make the playoffs, but it's not the World Series championship that everyone's been hoping the last 23 years that they would have received as they bow out in the divisional series round to the Braves. Taking a look at how the rest of the playoffs would have shaken out, the Dodgers beat the Reds in 5, the Orioles beat the A's in 5, and the Indians advance over the White Sox in 5. The Orioles take out the Indians in 7 in the ALCS. The Braves bow out to the Dodgers 4-1 in the NLCS. The Dodgers win the 1994 World Series 4-2 over the Baltimore Orioles. And former Montreal Expo Delino DeShields, the man who was traded for Pedro Martinez, gets the last laugh as he wins World Series MVP, hitting .320 on 8 for 25, 2 homers, and 7 RBIs in the World Series. Who would have thought that Delino DeShields would get the last laugh over Montreal in that deal? Now, we've extended this simulation out to the end of the 2004 season, where in real life, the Montreal Expos eventually moved to Washington. And as you can see, as of the end of the 2004 season, Montreal was $7 million in the hole in terms of balance. So I guess maybe making a move made sense. But in this simulation, the Expos team was much more successful than in real life. 1995 and 1996 saw the team finish second in the National League East again. 1996, the Expos once again made the playoffs as a wild card team, losing out in the first round again to the Atlanta Braves. 1997 saw the team slip back. 1998 saw the team go 96-66 as Pedro Martinez, who was still with the club at the time, won the National League MVP, going 21-4. The Expos made the playoffs again as a wildcard team, this time losing out to eventual World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. The Expos sputtered along throughout 99, 2000, and 2001, winning 87, 81, and 78 games respectively, before breaking through and winning a division crown, the only division crown in team history, in 2002 when they went 94 and 68. But unfortunately, they could not parlay that division crown into a championship, as the Expos dropped a 5-game series to the Oakland Athletics in the World Series. A 4th place and a 3rd place finish in 2003 and 2004, respectively, spelled the end of the franchise. So there you have it, folks, a simulation that takes a look at what if the 1994 season was not ended by a strike. Unfortunately for the Expos, while they were better in the mid part of the 90s, as the 2000s came around, financials caught up, and the team ended up in the hole. If the Expos would have been allowed to complete the 94 season and have themselves a playoff berth, would it have made a difference? Unfortunately, that's something we'll never know. Thank you guys for watching this Out of the Park Baseball 18 What If Simulation video. Make sure you check the description down below for a link and a promo code where you can pick up your very own copy of Out of the Park Baseball 18 with 10% off. If there's a what if situation you guys want me to take a look at, make sure you leave a comment down below. Hit me up on the Twitter machine at SnaggleJ. If you like the video, make sure you spank the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, peace.